All right, what's up, everybody? This is week number. Is it week 3 of this series?
3 or 4, I want to say.
Fuck. This is a new week of our nostalgia chat with Riverman and myself. I'm Aaron, and if you guys, I don't know where you're watching us, but we are streaming these every Tuesday on both Twitch and YouTube. It'll help us out tremendously if you give us a follow over on Twitch and YouTube or whatever your poison is. It's all greatly appreciated. So yeah, our buddy Plemke in the chat here, he's saying it's week 4. Last week we talked about our job history. This week is going to be a little more fun. We're not really going into scarred territory, talking about terrible job experiences and shit like that. We're going to be talking about the top 10, quote unquote 10, I'll get into that, films that defined our use. And let me explain how it's going to go. And I say top 10, it turned into 13 for me because I struggled so much with narrowing this down to 10. And I had 10 and I had a whole list of like honorable mentions and it was just too hard. So for me it's 13. Did you end up matching me on that?
Yeah, I think I brought a few honorable mentions. I don't have them in particular order, so
Yeah.
I might just pull out, show you a couple more afterwards. But
So the way I'm gonna do it, yeah, Plemke, I thought 13 was great because hey, it's Halloween. We can get a pass on that. But basically, I'm gonna try and go in chronological order based on my exposure and how old I was, and move up through that. None of the things on my list I was experienced with or exposed to rather past the age of 16 because I'm sticking to youth. And the concept here is maybe you still love these movies, maybe you still don't, but we'll kind of talk about how we feel about them today. Do they still hold up by today's standards? Like, where do they fit in our favorites lists in modern time, et cetera, et cetera. So the main takeaway is they had to have been influential to you in your upbringing, or you must have really dug them or something. And if Riverman and I happen to have anything identical, we'll just do like we've done in the past with stuff where if I say something, it's on your list too. We'll take that opportunity to get out of the way for both of us.
yeah, and I have some stuff that was influential that I might have said on previous shows, but I didn't really want to use those again. I mean, a couple of them I did, but I tried to branch out just a little bit more.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple that if you guys listen to our shows often, you're not going to be surprised by them. And I was trying to stay honest, like because it's so
Mhm.
tempting to do that. Be like, well, let me vary it up a let me let it be different because I want it to be. I'm like some of these I just couldn't lie. I mean, like there's a couple
Yeah,
here,
yeah, there's a
we're going to be
couple.
on here.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did have to narrow it down though. Like there's some stuff that I wasn't going to expand it past S13, but we're going to go and get started here in a second. Before we do, I just want to get to know what's been going on with my pal Riverman. What's been going on this week?
Not
Anything
much,
new?
man. Just anything cool?
And did you
Uh
buy anything? Anything cool
yeah,
happen? You watch
okay,
anything?
okay. I got a few things. I wanted to go see Pearl, which I couldn't do because I had the kids and my wife. We couldn't get away. I also wanted to see that new movie, Barbarian, which I heard was good too. I haven't had a chance to go see any of those, so I
I have
did pick
no
up a few
idea.
things.
I have no idea what Barbarian's about. I just kind of hear it being rumbled, but I have no clue what it's about, which is good. I'll just kind of go into it as blind as possible.
One thing I did get was I kind of went on a Pet Cemetery 2 kick. So I did pick up the LP, the soundtrack version from TerraVision, and it's fantastic. I love it.
Somebody copied me. No, I got
I
it too a couple weeks
Yeah,
back.
I know you got it, and I never pulled the trigger, and I'm glad I did because it's a phenomenal soundtrack. I got that, and then I was just hunting on eBay looking for shit, and I ended up getting the one sheet poster of it.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I have it hanging up right up here on my wall, not here, but here.
I imagine that's not terribly expensive. How much was it?
That was like $20. It's cheap.
Damn, is it a good shape? Is it folded or rolled?
Perfectly rolled. It's like looks brand
Oh,
new. Double sided, yeah.
I have to get
So
that. And was there any more? Did you got on eBay? Did it have more
I
than
got an
one?
eBay. Yeah, they always pop up every once in a while.
Oh,
So I would turn my camera, but I don't want to screw up
no,
my
yeah,
camera right now.
I don't have room for more though of those big ass posters. But that one, I might trade out one. I might trade a frame out.
Well, and that's what I do. I put it in front of the hobo with a shotgun one. So sometimes I do that. I switch them out. but I basically just put 2 in there and then swap them out. The other thing I did pick up was this too. So this was really cool. I saw this on eBay, and this cost me a whopping $8. So some people that might think it's stupid, but I really think it looks cool. It is the Pet Sematary 2 press kit.
That's really rad.
So the press kit contains the handbook for production information, where it basically goes through the I don't know, a lot of parts of the script and everything like that, which is cool.
Dude.
Basically, this is what they sent, all the theaters and stuff to try to get them to, I don't know, pick it up or whatever. And then they also have a thing of 8x10s, glossy 8x10s that came with it too, which is really cool. Some really cool stills from I can just show you a few of these real quick.
Yeah. What'd you pay for this, by the way?
$8.
Nice.
They have quite a few on there, but yeah, I managed to get. There's a director, of course. There's Gus in the kitchen.
Dude, those would look badass framed.
Yeah. There's Eddie Furlong, Pet Sematary. Yeah.
I smell a cum tribute coming soon, folks.
Yes, there's. I love that one. That was great.
Yeah.
I'd love to get that signed someday if he ever does cons.
I'm pretty sure that's always in the back of the VHS box, right? That's still.
Yeah.
She's not your mom, Jeff.
And then they have Drew Buddy.
That's the best. That's the best, dude.
And they have.
Oh no, that's the best.
Yeah.
I love it. He doesn't know if he wants to be a kid posing for a horror movie or like a Gap photo. He looks like a little model.
This is them together. So
that's a great one too.
For $8, I was like, hell yes, I'm gonna pick this up. So yeah, I got that. Pretty cool. I mean, they do have the press kits on there. A lot of people are getting rid of them, but I end up haggling somebody down from, I think it was like 12, and I gave him $8. So it was worth it for me.
You know what? That's why it's so cool and beneficial for me to be somebody that has such an affinity for sequels that most people don't like as much as the originals, because you get the one sheets so much cheaper, and you get cool memorabilia like that so much cheaper. And you may or may not see some of that affinity on my list too. But no, I've got an Alien 3 one sheet on my wall. I mean, I'm too cheap to buy an Alien or Aliens, but I like Alien 3 and I like the poster. So it's like, I'll pay $10 for that. It's and you get those in perfect shape too, right?
Yeah.
Because they just sit in warehouses because no one wants them.
Yep.
I like Ghostbusters 2 better than Ghostbusters 1, and I'm totally happy to have that on my wall instead. It's, I don't care.
Yeah. Cool. I figured since it was the Halloween season, I had to up my Pet Sematary 2 game, so...
No, that's really cool. I'm jealous of the one sheet. I'm tempted to pick one up, even though I have nowhere to fucking put it, man. But I'll have to hunt for one. But see, the thing is when Todd gets something, if I can't get one just as nice, I don't want it. Like it has to be perfect as well. Perfect rolled, no creases, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's double-sided too, which is legit.
I know that's really, really cool. I don't know if I've gotten anything. I recently got the Pet Sematary 2 soundtrack as well a couple weeks back. I don't think I've gotten anything in particular of note in the last couple of weeks, but my birthday. Cheers. My birthday is Thursday. So I may or may not have a stack of stuff waiting for me. Right. I've already got presents on the table. I made a point of contention with this. I'm like, this isn't Christmas. You don't put the birthday presents out for me to stare at. Like, you give them to me on my birthday and you surprise me with them. So I'm just staring at them on the kitchen table downstairs. But yeah, anyway, I will have stuff to share next week. But is there anything else you want to talk about before we get to the meat of the topic?
No, not really. That's pretty much all I picked up recently.
I want to address the folks that are in the chat, at least right now, before we get into the meat of the topic. And I want to remind everybody, you guys can be in these chats too, because we're doing this every Tuesday on twitch.tv/Revival House and our YouTube channel at 8 Central. I want to say what's up to Gerchop. I want to say what's up to JD McNugent, of course, the great Plemke, and I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody else that's joined in at the moment. But I'll acknowledge a couple of these comments, then we're going to get into the main topic, and then we'll leave space at the end. If you guys want to get some questions ready, we'll answer them at the end. Does that work for you? So we don't... you
Yeah,
know,
that's cool.
so the main chat doesn't get too messy. But feel free to keep loading up the chat. But let's see. Somebody said that Pearl was good, but not as good as X. Who said
Okay.
that? Yeah, and so yeah, I'm surprised you haven't seen that yet. But as much as you loved X,
Yeah, I can't get out. I mean, I've been so damn busy with the kids and wife and all that stuff. So
I'm working nonstop. I got to let you guys know. It's like if we're 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late to starting this, it's because I'm working all the way up to the second that I have to come here. And if there's something like an update that happens, fuck, it's going to cause that little bit of a delay. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the real shit, the mad notes, man. We are going to talk about the movies that defined our youth. I will start, and going in chronological order, it's hard for me to not say my number one is The Wizard of Oz. Number one, as far as my first pick. Not these aren't really
Mhm.
any order. The Wizard of Oz, and I have to say The Wizard of Oz because it is my early. It's probably my earliest movie memory.
Mhm.
I was 3. Like I don't really have any grounded memories starting until about 4 years old. But 3, there's like a couple of patches, right? And this is the only thing I can remember from being 3 being obsessed with, and the rest of the information comes from like my mom. Like she just has to tell me like my obsession with it too. And when you're a little kid, you know how toddlers are, where they get hooked on some program, whether it's a show or a videotape, or a videotape in our case, and they would just constantly want to play it, right? The
Mhm.
kangaroo song, that Big Daddy thing.
Yep.
Mine was The Wizard of Oz. My mom tells me that I had to rewatch it on loop, constantly putting it on, constantly rewinding that thing myself. And also of note, it's probably my earliest nightmares because I was absolutely terrified of the blue flying monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Side note, I was also absolutely terrified of Planet of the Apes, even though I don't really remember that so well. But my parents both told me like you were fucking you just could not even deal with it, and I would be freaked out. But that's definitely not on my list because I don't really remember consuming those movies. But I was apparently afraid of monkeys. What can you do? But did you have any experience with the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I love the Wizard of Oz. The witch, always freaked me out as a kid. The whole tornado scene is really cool to me because where I'm living in the Midwest, we're like Tornado Alley. So, I mean, we have to, take shelter all the time when spring comes around. So they always freaked me out as a kid, tornadoes and all that. So I really enjoyed it.
Did you read up on that recently unearthed lost episode of Sesame Street with the Wicked Witch
No.
in it?
Mm-mm.
Right. And they ended up removing it from all programming because it was deemed way too scary. Like it got so many complaints on PBS, and I think it was back in the '60s. So much later, like we're talking decades after the movie first aired, but still, she reprised her role as the Wicked Witch, and she looked a little older, but she had makeup. And I watched it on YouTube. You can find it, and it is pretty scary. I can imagine being a kid and seeing like her just appear in Hooper's place or whatever, and threatening to take their little dogs. And it was pretty wait, it wasn't that scary, but then again, I'm an adult. Anyway, I found that shit just terrifying. But I still love the movie. I think it's ahead of its time. We did a commentary for it, and it took us a while to do a commentary for that one, but I think it's amazing. I still think it holds up. Like I said, ahead of its time. They did crazy shit that wasn't getting emulated for 20, 30 years later, right? They were color 30 years before color became the norm, right? So I don't know. I like the songs, even though I hate musicals. Go figure. Like I can't stand musicals. I was giving Riverman shit for liking Grease. I don't usually like that bullshit. But Wizard of Oz gets a pass. I love the way the scenes are laid out. Like he said, the Twister scene. Um, I love the Technicolor of the Land of Oz. I maybe the songs too. I love the songs, but maybe they're just so ingrained in pop culture DNA, in my DNA, that I can't help but not love them. But um, anyway, it's a fantastic flick. What is your first movie?
My first movie I watched probably 1989. Really stuck to me. Mine's horror related. So, when I was a kid, we of course went to the video store, rented a VHS. This movie came out, I believe, '88, and it freaked me the fuck out. Especially this one scene, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But it is. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4,
Ooh,
which is still
nice.
one of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Streets. It's fantastic. Directed by Henny Harlan, which he does like Die Hard 2, and he
Rennie
does a lot of
Harlan.
good movies.
Rennie.
Rennie Harlan, and he does like Cliffhanger and all these other great movies. But number 4, man, it just stuck with me because there's this one scene where I still can picture it in my head, like watching it as a kid, where
The
she turns
roach.
into cockroach. Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
those special effects are amazing, dude. I mean, for 88 too, I mean, I was freaked out. And then the Roach Motel, and he just crushes the box or whatever, and
They
oh,
check
that's
in, they
one.
don't check out. Yeah.
Yeah, but that, man, that stuck with me so much, and I love that. A lot of people shit on 4, man, but I love 4. 4 is good.
No, it was an extension of what they were doing with 3, where they really brought the comedy and the one-liners, and if the food doesn't kill you, the service will, right?
Yep.
The meatballs, and yeah, and it's not yet on my list, but I let's just say I do have a installment of that franchise on my list, and it just as easily could have been Part 4. But honestly, there's 3 movies that I honestly can't remember which one I watched first,
Okay.
and I chose a different one.
Okay.
So, but I could have chose 4, but we'll get to that. No, I love that movie. I love 4 too. I could totally see how it's not as good as 3, but
I like
I,
it better than 3 personally.
do you? I
Yeah,
love
I
it
do.
too.
Just because nostalgia, probably, but I just love 3, but I love 4
Dude, I
more.
even love people shit on the cheapness, like where they ran out of money and they have the Invisible Freddy fight. I think it's so clever what they
Oh
did. I
yeah.
always loved him, like karate fighting thin air and him
Hmm.
knocking the glove out, and it was just like the flying glove. I'm like, that's a way to work around a budget or whatever you're dealing with. If you don't have Robert England on set that day, I love it.
Yep. So yep, that's my first one. So
Okay, so my next one, like I said, just trying to go in chronological. 1990, not going to be a surprise. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original flick. I could not put this on there. Everybody knows I'm Turtles obsessed, but it was the first movie I saw in theaters, and I've literally had an obsession with the Turtles ever since. I know it's dark back there, but it's just stuck with me. I think that some of the greatest characters ever written. I think all the graphic novels are all the different variants have merit. Like the cartoon universe is great, the old school cartoon universe, the movie, the graphic novels. I mean, just everything about it. I love it. I'm a super fan for life. I mean, I've already spoken everything I can about it, so I'm really not going to go on much more about it. But what about you? So I'm about my last, yeah, Wizard of Oz. I would say was probably put me about 89 as well, and that was 1990 for me.
this one was prior. I mean, it was the year I was born, so I didn't watch it until probably 90. And everybody knows. I mean, I talk about this movie nonstop. Of course, it's Top Gun. Top Gun is a family movie that we quote all the time. We love it. I've seen it a million times. I love the soundtrack. I love everything about Top Gun, and I understand why people don't like it, but I grew up with it. I love it, and I never get tired of it, man. So
I
there's
wasn't a
not much more
I
to be said about Top Gun, but I love
I
it. So
wasn't a Top Gun convert until the sequel, which I absolutely loved. But
yeah,
yeah, I watched Top Gun for the first time just a couple of years ago, and just didn't get it. I totally understand. Well, I take it back. I understood that you had to have been there. It was one of those flicks that I think you had to have seen on the big screen because it's a blockbuster, and maybe you would have appreciated all the crazy aerials and all the stuff I enjoyed about the sequel because I saw it in IMAX. But I just felt the plot was super thin. There wasn't anything to the movie. I was super annoyed by the love subplot. It was fucking stupid, and they nailed it. They did it so much better in the sequel, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. The balance.
My Top Gun is your Ghostbusters. Let me just say that. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Ghostbusters. It's fine, but I don't love it as much as you do.
But you know what's weird is I grew up with Ghostbusters
Hmm.
and I love the Ghostbusters, but I'm not a fanatic about the Ghostbusters.
I
Like
thought you
I'm not.
were.
No,
Okay.
Mac is a fucking fanatic about it.
Okay.
I'm not a fanatic. I've always loved the Ghostbusters, but when I think about it, it's like what I love. I love the second one, and I really enjoy the first one. It's not like there's a whole franchise there for me to gush over. It's just a couple of movies.
Mhm.
And Ghostbusters 2, that's one of the movies I watched like crazy when I was a kid, and I still love it. But I don't collect Ghostbusters toys. I have some Ghostbuster toys and shit but I don't have them on display. They're not worthy of display. So I don't. It hasn't earned the fandom. It's not like
Well, you
TMNT.
used to when you were a kid, though. You collected
No,
Ghostbusters.
oh no. So
Really?
okay, when I was a kid, I guess I did because
I bought an
love.
Egon off of you.
Did you buy one of those Mattel Egons? The
Or his eyes pop out. Is
oh,
that
you did.
Egon?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
was
got it from
Peter.
your mom.
That was Peter Venkman.
Maybe it's Venkman, but your mom was selling off some Ghostbusters toys that you guys
Yeah,
grew up with.
but yeah, but no, she bought that shit to flip.
Oh, okay.
I did
Okay.
own that stuff. So when I was a little kid, I was on the train of Ghostbusters because I love the real Ghostbusters. I had all the toys, kind of like TMNT and stuff. But the difference is, I didn't grow out of TMNT. I grew out of Ghostbusters. I go back and I watch the real Ghostbusters now. It doesn't hold up. It's not very good, right?
Mhm.
I just don't think Ghostbusters as a franchise has always been sort of an anomaly to me. Like, isn't it weird how we have something that's just this beloved pop culture franchise, and all they had was two movies, one of which people mostly hate? Isn't
Yeah.
that weird?
Yeah.
It's not. It's not these other properties that have been around for decades and decades. So I used to love Ghostbusters. I definitely aged out of it a little bit. I still love the movies though for what they are. I love them, but I'm not a fanatic.
Okay.
Anyway, so Top Gun, I could have guessed that was going to be on your list.
Mhm.
My next one, I think I fucked up the order here, so I'm going to skip around. It's my
All right.
nightmare movie. My nightmare movie is I picked two. I'm like, I think it might have been two. I couldn't remember if it was two, three, or four because I want to say I watched all of them at about 4 years old.
Yeah. Same.
You know,
Yeah.
they were all on TV, like the creature used to come on, like we had creature features on the weekends and
Mhm.
things like that, and Saturday night matinees and stuff on TV. And the reason why I just went ahead and gave it to the second one by default is I had straight up nightmares of that one. That's the one I think that induced Freddy nightmares for me. Dude,
Yeah.
I used to
He's
have that night.
creepiest. Yeah.
I used to have that same nightmare about the school bus.
Oh God, that was terrifying. Yeah.
And that particular scene
Mhm.
is what freaked me out. So I just said that. Like I said, it could easily have been the fourth one, but I love, and it's also just hit for me because I love to say I like part twos better than the original sometimes.
I don't. It's not, but it's up there. It could be my second favorite.
But I'm saying, like, I love it. I love Ghostbusters 2. I love Nightmare on Elm Street 2. People hated that movie, by the way, for so many years up until like the last couple of years. Now everybody jerks it off. Like,
We
it's amazing.
we were championing that movie like 15 years ago on the podcast or 10 years ago or whatever,
Yeah.
and people are shitting on it.
And it also used to be like the one they never showed on TV, like literally
Yeah.
syndication, kind of like just like the forgot it existed and stuff like that. But yeah, now everybody loves it, which I'm not shitting on that. I'm glad it's got some appreciation, but I think it's highly up there. I mean, I don't know. To me, the first, gosh, man, I don't know. I the first four, you can't fuck with them.
No.
I think I have to say three is better than four. I just have to from a technical level. Like
I understand. I understand. I'm looking through it through nostalgia. That's the only reason I put four ahead of three.
And that's the way I would do it too. But I've not recently, but in my adult years, I've watched marathons. We literally did a handful of years ago back to back commentaries of 3 and 4. One I did with Josh James, and the other he did with us on BTM. And it's just like side by side, you could tell where 4 is a little weaker in places. You know, nostalgia aside, I would probably put 3 by a hair above it, and then 1 and 2 are going head to head. I mean, for the top spot, but I love it. I like Freddy when he's vile, man. 1 and 2 when he's ugly. His face is really disgusting. He actually looks like a burn victim instead of clearly prosthetics. You know, it doesn't. He looks great in Nightmare 3, 4, and 5, and he kind of looks kind of cartoonish. When you get up to Freddy's
And
dead, he almost looks like a cartoon. It's not really realistic.
yeah, but I mean, growing up as a kid, I mean, Freddy's king because I mean, he's a child molester that kills you in your dreams. I mean, how much worse can you get than that? I mean,
Genius.
I don't care. I don't care if it's Jason. I don't care if it's Michael Myers. Freddy was king, and I mean, some people like those other franchises, which I like. I probably like Friday the 13th franchise more, but there's something about that character, the Robert Englund, that just man. he just creeps you the fuck out, dude.
It is absolutely genius. It's funny because it's almost like they were marketing towards the audience that wasn't supposed to be watching those movies.
Yep,
Right?
absolutely. It's like Mortal Kombat. Well, yeah, well, it's the movies your parents didn't want you to watch, or the games your parents didn't want you to play. So
Yeah. Well, and I have some other stuff on my list that I could also make that argument for, but yeah, anybody that says that they don't like Freddy is either A, too old, right? I remember when I interviewed Phil Anselmo, at least when I did, and we talked about horror movies, he was not having the Nightmare on Elm Street. He thought that it lost the plot with him and horror, it got cheesy and commercial. But I can understand that because he's the past generation. He came from a different school. So I can understand maybe like Freddy Krueger was his equivalent to Saw or whatever at the time, where they're coming out with a million sequels, and it did. By the time you get to Freddy's Dead, there's like advertisements all over the place.
It's terrible. Yeah,
it's terrible. So it did become a bit of a joke. But if you're not older than us, man, you got to give credit to Freddy. It was the gateway, even if not all his movies are good, because there's a clear decline. But he was a total gateway. So yeah, that comes to your next one.
Okay, so this one came out in 1989, and I saw advertisements for this fucking everywhere. I think I was back and forth with my dad in Atlanta, and I saw these the trailer all the time when I was watching. I used to watch VH1 all the time and MTV just to watch the music videos, and they used to play this trailer over and over and over again. And I finally saw it, and it was, man, I loved this movie as a kid.
I have a guess. Come on, what is it?
So this one is Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
So
man, not a great movie, but okay. Oh, we didn't even say. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll do it for this one. We're not even talking about how it holds up, but go ahead.
I still like Jason Takes Manhattan, man. I think there's something about this movie that I don't know. I mean, it takes place on a boat. It's sleazy. It's cheesy. It's gore. I mean, it's fun, dude. I loved it as a kid, and I don't know. I love this movie, man. So I can see why.
I'll talk about it too, because as a kid, it had the most allure. Mm-hmm. Because it stood apart. It's like, oh, he's not at Camp Crystal Lake.
Just look at the cover art, dude. The cover art's amazing, man.
Great cover art. It was attractive because for once he wasn't at Crystal Lake, and they were taking him to the big city. It was like Home Alone 2, Lost in New York or whatever. So it was very cool. But it's also one of those flicks when I watch as an adult, I'm like, I remember the cool parts. Mm-hmm. and I let that cloud how I remembered the whole movie. Because yeah, there's some funny parts and stuff. Him uppercutting the guy's head off, boxing him. There's some, but it feels like it takes forever. There's not enough time of him in Manhattan. There's not enough.
It's right? Better than 6. I mean, it's a lot better than a lot of the Friday 13th films, I think. Not 7, but 6. It is better.
Maybe I need to have a marathon and watch them all back to back, because the way I remember as an adult watching them is that it didn't hold up for me, right, as a whole. And it's like, I've never been the biggest Jason fan, Cardinal Sin, I don't really care for the first one. It doesn't do.
Oh, you're crazy. And I don't know. As I gotten older, man, I used to watch it as a kid. I didn't appreciate it. Of course, it's not Jason, but I love the first one, man. The first 1, 2, and 4 are kings to me, man. They're fantastic.
I feel like Sleepaway Camp ripped it off better with the whole first person.
Sleepaway Camp's fantastic. It is, but
I need to rewatch them. I like to. I don't know what your thing is on 3, but I'd like 3 consistently. Okay, I like 4. Obviously that's kind of the high mark. Usually people say. Then honestly, it kind of gets muddy for me. Like, I don't remember which kills are in 7 or 6. It gets a little weird. Like, it starts to blend together to me a little bit. And but I remember
7's ending's shit, but I enjoy 7 for what it is. I think it's a good, entertaining movie.
Well, that's cool. Jason didn't make my list, but we're gonna keep this theme. I'm going through a theme right now of this is early exposure to horror. And my next one, it can only be Child's Play, the original. Now, I arguably love Child's Play 2 just as much or almost as much, but it was the first one I saw originally when I was a kid. And so when I'm talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and Child's Play and my next couple of picks, this is all 1990. I consumed like all these movies when I was 4. And just like you said, with the marketing of Freddy, it's like, how can we scare kids? We're going to have a child killer slash whatever to fill that in the blank with. That's freaking scary. Dude, whoever created the idea of the good guy doll is a genius because and at the time there was some litigation, but the My Buddy dolls, right? The My Buddy and what was it? Kid's Sister. Do you remember the My Buddy dolls?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, they basically were like good guys. And I remember when the movie came out, there was litigation from the company that did the My Buddies and everything because it was fucking with their product and everything else because kids didn't want a My Buddy anymore. And I already had a My Buddy. I saw that movie, dude. I used to stare at my My Buddy doll in the bedroom, just staring at me in the corner. I wasn't having it. And I think between Freddy and Chucky, nothing gave me more nightmares than anything. And Pennywise. I had a lot of Pennywise and that's not on my list, but definitely an honorable mention. The It miniseries. Pennywise, because clowns, once again, kids, clowns, dolls, and someone like Freddy, it was just a recipe for disaster. But I had so many nightmares about Chucky, man. I just countless. And he was really, really, really scary. And it wasn't until I got older that, I get it. It's kind of funny. It's not really that scary. But those first 2 movies, dude, I think they're unfuckwithable. I love the first 2.
They're great. Yeah, they're really good, man.
They really they didn't technically create the concept of a killer doll, but they set the foundation.
They mastered it.
Yeah. Everything else just pales in comparison. Even Chucky pales in comparison to Chucky. Like even going after part 2, I know Mac and Zach will defend part 3 all day long. And
I enjoyed part 3 when I was a kid, but that was it.
Part 3 is solid. It's totally fine. But dude, watch them as a trilogy back to back. 3 is a dipping point. It just is. I don't know what else to say. It's fine. It's totally salvageable, but dude, you can't fuck with 1 and 2. Old school Andy Barclay. The one-liners are incredible. Yeah, but how'd you feel about Child's Play and how did, because for me, Child's Play holds up very well. Its practical effects are amazing. Every scene, like it's still when you watch that scene when Chucky comes to life for the first time, because it's kind of hard. It's you got to put yourself into that year when it came out because it was supposed to be hidden, right? You weren't supposed to know the twist because the whole movie, that first one, they play off like, is Andy crazy? Because everybody thinks Andy Barclay's crazy and he's the one that's hurting people, and we never see Chucky do anything. Most of the movie, we see Andy talking to Chucky, but Chucky not talking back. The camera cutting away and something was done, and then Chucky's back where he was. We don't actually see, so we don't know if Andy's telling the truth either. And then so when his mom's getting ready to throw him in the fire, and it shifts and it cuts to that animatronic Chucky, you stupid bitch, you filthy slut, I'll teach you to fuck with me, dude. Fucking nightmare fuel, and I think it's still scary. And I try and watch it through that lens still.
And that's where we kind of disagree there because I can't watch it through that lens. I watched it as a kid and I liked it as a kid, but I didn't love it as a kid. So I do enjoy the Child's Play movies, but they don't hold up for me as being in my late 30s. I'll watch them and I enjoy them, but like I can understand why people like them. They didn't stick with me.
I almost kind of wish it stopped after the second one. Because they're just I think they're incredible. And dude, just endless quotes, man. I love in part 2 when he's got that one guy at gunpoint, he's having him drive, right? And he's like, "Now park this piece of shit." I used to quote this shit all the time. All the time.
Absolutely. And I totally understand why people love them, but it's just one of those franchises that never really stuck with me as I gotten older. So and I'm sure you have the same. You probably have.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as being that young and it being nightmare fuel, everything's kind of foggy. When you're that young, when we're talking about those early years, you don't really remember. At least me, I don't really remember the entire movie. I remember key scenes that constantly live with me, and I remember seeing those scenes. And that goes for the same for Freddy. Like, same thing with Freddy 2, 3, 4. I remember the cockroach scene. I remember the, I'm bad and the syringes,
Yeah.
let's get high. I remember that scene in particular, and to the school bus. And I for Child's Play, I remember the end. I remember watching the end where his corpse is burnt corpse with like no head, and his head's talking like kill them all, and the
Yeah.
burnt crispy dude. That fucking that wrecked my shit, man. All right. Anyway, so we're gonna continue on Child's Play. I felt it held up great personally. Riverman, you're up next.
Yes. So this is a movie that came out, I believe, in 1984. It was a big family favorite for mine. My dad,
Oh,
my
man.
mom wasn't really into it, but we grew up on it, and it's a great comedy. It's a Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, that is a big one for you.
Yeah. So I love everything about this movie. We just saw some nerds when we went to the Comic Con, or not the Comic Con, the Horror Con. I was down with Aaron, but saw, was it Dan Gibb, or what was his name?
Donald
Don
Gibb.
Gibb. But we love the comedies growing up in our houses. The Revenge of the Nerds was so quotable for us. We love Booger. Booger was probably our favorite. I mean, he always wore like the nasty T-shirts and white boogers on his shirt and stuff like that. And
Why do they call you Booger?
I don't know. Yeah, but it's one of the greatest raunchy comedies of the '80s. So not a whole lot more I could say about it, but it's very quotable as well. So Revenge of the Nerds is where it's at.
And it holds up for you.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Comedies are like that. Comedies will only get stronger the older you get if you have like that affinity for them from a young age. I was never into nerds like you. I like Revenge of the Nerds. I think I like it about as much as I always did. It's a solid 80s fucking sex comedy or whatever.
We loved all the shitty sequels too. We loved the second one. We loved the third one. The Booger Gets a Bride. I think that was the
Dude,
fourth one.
I couldn't recall any of the sequels. Don't ask me because I don't remember anything about any of the sequels. I probably haven't seen all of them, but yeah, the only one that I remember is the first one. So, maybe next time you're over here, we got to have a marathon and watch a couple of the Nerds flicks.
We always went to the video store and then rented the shitty sequels on VHS. It was great, man.
I would go as far as to say that one of these months we can have Revenge of the Nerds a month. Do Revenge of the Nerds commentaries. I don't know how many damn. Which one was Nerds in Love?
Was that the third one? I think that might have been the third one. Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. So that's good. Okay. For me, I'm going to continue my same trend here because, like I said, the next couple are the same year, 1990. I have to give it to Halloween 2. And Halloween 2 was the original flick I saw on the franchise. I didn't see the first Halloween until quite a bit later. And, it's just, I remember watching the second one on those Saturday night matinee creature features, man. And I remember vividly this guy walking through a hospital. And I've always had a soft spot for the hospital setting. I love it. Even though, as I got older, it's like, why is this hospital empty and why is all the power out? Why is there only one patient and like a couple of caretakers? It didn't make any sense, but I loved it, man. It is just him walking and creeping through the shadows. It wouldn't have been as scary if the lights were on. And I don't know. I've always loved it. I love the absurdity of Halloween 2. I didn't have anything to compare it to at the time, but obviously now watching it next to the original is a real slow burn. It's great for what that is. But I love the over the top nature of the second one, where it's just fucking silly, man. The Ben Tramer bullshit, the wreck, the shooting his eyes and his eyes bleeding, and him just like still being on his feet, and it's just so silly. But I love
it. And this is kind of weird because I saw this as a kid. I didn't like it as much, and up until probably about 10 years ago, I wasn't a fan of it. And now I fucking love it, man. I think it's great.
I love it.
As I gotten older, I love it, dude. So
it actually, I get it. 1978 Halloween, it set off this huge fucking explosion of people ripping off Halloween. I get it, the Black Christmas, yada yada, all that stuff. But Halloween's what set everything in motion. And you literally had Jason come out as a result of Halloween.
Mhm.
Right? Like they literally wanted their own holiday. Like, well, we gotta have a holiday too. Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It's marketable. And we have Jason. And now the second Halloween movie came out quite a good bit later. It took a few years for them to pump out a sequel to Halloween 1, but by that time, Jason was a couple of movies deep and he
Yeah.
was like the new hotness and he was popular. So now we have the teacher emulating the student and they were trying to keep up with what Jason made popular, which was more violence, over the top, sex, nudity, all that shit. So I think it works. I love it because it's Halloween with that stuff. Because you have like the hot tub scene, kill scene. Because another thing, the kills, because that's what Jason did too. You got to have elaborate, unique kills. It's not like Halloween where it's just how many ways can I stab this person with a knife or strangle them. Now he has to scald somebody and drown them in a hot tub while their big fucking D cups are dangling. Awesome, fucking amazing. We got to have a syringe through the temple. Right, we gotta have a scalpel kill because he has the scalpel in that movie, and I love it. So it was the best thing that I think could have happened for that.
Well, and one thing I didn't appreciate, it has the perfect transition from the first one. I didn't appreciate till I was older, and I really noticed, like, because you never get that with horror movies. Like, I mean, it could be just one giant movie, 1 and 2. I
Yeah,
mean, it's that flawless. So, yeah, as I got older, man, God, man, I really love it. So, I'm coming to the game late. So you're right.
I do understand that John Carpenter hates the whole add-on of her being the sister, Laurie Strode, because that was written into the second one. And I get it. Normally, I'm not all about that kind of exposition. Like the first one's beautiful for what it is. The crazy guy comes back to Haddonfield. There's no real method or to his madness of why he's stalking the babysitters. It just is what it is. And they got a little creative with the story and they gave him more of a motive with Laurie. I might say that's no good for me, but I grew up with this one. This is the first one I was exposed to. So for as long as I can remember, Laurie was a sister because I saw it
Yeah.
before the first one, and I don't see why it's such a big deal. I guess I also give it a pass too because John Carpenter's the one that wrote it.
Yeah.
It's not like Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth where it's like in a totally different person's hands and they're adding on to this lore and I can just disregard it because of that. It's not the same. John Carpenter just kind of regretted it later. But I think it's fantastic. I don't mind the sister angle, and it's extremely rewatchable for me. And I love the mask. I know I was blown away a handful of years ago when I found out that was actually the same mask from the first one because I didn't always know that. It wasn't until I was an adult where I found out. Yeah, they had to call up. Fuck, what's her name? Not John Carpenter, but his other. Why can't I spit out her fucking name? Deborah Hill. They called it Deborah Hill. Deborah Hill had it. It was like in storage or whatever, and it just that's what that was it. It had been crushed in some box, and it was starting to yellow and shit from smoke in the house, and it looks like a completely different mask to me. And it actually looks more like William Shatner. It looks more like William Shatner in the 80s than it did like in the Star Trek days.
Yeah, the 2 mask I think is better than the one. It's probably the best one, I think.
There's something about it. But yeah, anyway, it's a fantastic movie. I think it holds up completely. In fact, to cap that one off, I will say part 2, nail me to the wall if you want, I think is more rewatchable than the first one.
See, yeah, that's just you. I love the first one, but that's just you.
I love the first one. I think it's a fantastic movie. I've seen the first one to death at this point. I don't think I have to watch Halloween 1 for a few more years. I've met my quota. I think in the last couple of years I've watched it probably fucking 7 times or something stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of but there's something like junk food about the second one to me.
You have to watch them back to back. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, I don't know. It's like an album. It's a double album, double LP.
Anyway. Well, what's your next one?
So we kind of touched on this. Well, did we? we might not. So this was from 1988, and we rented this at the video store. I think we were in Atlanta, and all we did was rent movies. And we walked by this movie, and we rented it thinking it was something else. And then once we got it, we were fucking blown away with what it was.
Been there.
So we got it based off the cover. So you might have a guess, but Sleepaway Camp 2
Oh yeah.
with Pamela Voorhees. This movie fucked me up when I was a kid. I think
Springsteen.
Pamela. We were just talking about friends. Yeah, Pamela Springsteen. The whole porta potty scene fucked me up when I was a kid, dude. I think we watched this like 3 different times when we rented it because it creeped us out, man. Pamela Springsteen was incredible in this movie, and of course, I wish it would come out in 4K or something because I don't know the Blu-ray, but the whole trilogy, all 3 of them are great, and I love the first one, but the second one screwed me up as a kid because of course, every kid bought it thinking it was Jason and Freddy based off the cover, and
It was a bit of a bait and switch. It's funny, the
Yeah.
marketing of it.
well, and when you're a kid, you're just like, oh wow, they're probably in this film. It's like, and looking back, you're like, what idiot kid would think that they were in this film? But yeah, it worked. So marketing was great.
Yeah. A lot of people were riding the Freddy and Jason dick. I remember, you're right, that was the tagline of Night of the Demons, right? Angela's throwing a party, Freddy and Jason are too scared to come, or something
Yep.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had to ride on that a little bit. So that's your favorite in the series, then I take it too. How does it hold up today compared to the rest of the series?
I still love it, and I love all 3 of them. I've come a better appreciation of 3 too, because 3's just picks up where it leaves off. Some people shit on 3. I like it. I like all 3 of them. I think they're all great, but I love the second one.
I just love the moral of the story of the first one, which everybody should take to heart, is homosexuality corrupts children. Not
Oh Jesus!
no, I'm just kidding. But it's just so funny when you watch that original movie as an adult. It's like that's what caused Angela to be a serial killer, is she saw her gay dads or whatever and then like she went into adoption and they raised her as a boy. You think that would be the part, but they act like she was traumatized when she saw the 2 guys in bed or whatever. I'm just playing around. It's just funny when you watch the movie, the way it plays. It's hilarious. But the movies, yeah, that movie's great, and I enjoyed 2. I didn't watch 2 until we did a commentary for it some years back, and we did 2 and 3 commentaries, and I liked 2 better than 3. But to be fair, I don't think I watched 3 separately. I just did that one on the commentary, so I'd probably have to spend some time with that alone.
Okay.
Okay, so my next one is, I'm gonna say, is the last one from this era of my discovery of horror movies, probably around the same time, 1990. Still holds a special place in my heart. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, or as I used to call it when I was a kid. For the longest time, I thought this damn movie was called Space Clowns. To the point where Mandela effect, seriously. And I don't remember at what point, because something about Killer Clowns from Outer Space, it is popular now. What happened?
Oh yeah.
The fact that they have a game coming out, right? A multiplayer
It
online
looks pretty
game.
cool too.
It does look fun, but now we're at that level where we have a mainstream video game coming out to modern consoles, and you can't go into a Spirit Halloween shop without seeing tons of Killer Clowns merchandise. Maybe you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was a kid in the 90s, and even all the way up until maybe like 2010 at least, you didn't see this shit anywhere. And
No.
they never played Killer Clowns on TV in the 90s. Maybe you could catch it on Sci-Fi or something, like on an obscure night or something, but it was not a thing. Nobody fucking talked about it. If people talked about it as much as they do today, I would have never thought it was called Space Clowns. Like, that's how obscure it was, because I didn't know it was called Killer Clowns from Outer Space for a while, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think the Chiodo brothers are brilliant, and I think the clown designs are brilliant, and it's a good example of I'm not going to let I'm not gonna let the sudden popularity of it hamper my feelings.
Oh no, that's good though. I'm glad it's
It,
found an
it's
audience.
good, but I do get to say I was there first. But I love it. It was awesome, and the movie's brilliant. It does deserve it. It's hokey, it's cheesy. I love its B movie nature. Like I said, the clowns look disgusting, dude. And it's not like I don't even think it's R rated. I think it's like
Is it?
I don't think it's R rated. There's like no blood in it.
Yeah,
Like
I'll
think
look it
about
up.
all the kills in it, like when he does the hand puppet shadows, the dinosaur shadow eats people and they just disappear. And I get it. The little clown boxes
Yeah,
the guy's head off.
PG-13. Yeah.
PG-13. The clown, put him up, put up your dukes, put up your dukes. He took a page from Jason or whoever came first, and he boxed that guy's head off. But even
Mhm.
then, the head was very cartoony. It wasn't gory. I think the only blood in the movie is technically when they're sucking the blood out of the cocoons, and you see the
Mhm.
red in the straw. Other than that, it's not violent. But it's creepier than shit. If you're a little kid, and I was really scared of this when I was a real little one. But now
It's
it's
fun.
just a good time.
It's fun, man. Yeah, I didn't see it until later in life, and yeah, I really enjoy it. And maybe I'll show my kids it. I mean, here pretty soon because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it's not violent. It's just
Yeah.
as long as they know that, yeah, this is a fantasy, they're aliens, whatever. But they do look grotesque. But as long as you're in on the joke, they'll be fine. I love also that it respects your time. It's really short. I don't remember how short it is, but it's not 90 minutes. You want to look that up?
Yeah. Let me look it up.
It's a quick burn, man. It's a good time. 88 minutes, 85 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Take forever, but that's okay. It's real short. Yeah, you're not a young Jamie, dude. Pull it up, Jamie.
Pull it, yeah,
Three
pull
hours
it up.
later. All you
Yeah,
have to do is
yeah.
Google Killer Clowns running time, but okay. No, but it's awesome. It's real short, and just everything about it, man. It's awesome. The spaceship is a circus tent. It's fucking absurd, and uh, yeah, the fucking cotton candy cocoons, and the end of the movie where you have the giant clown, which I don't know. I wonder if the Chiodos took a page from Critters 2, where it's like they created the giant critter, but the giant clown was creepy, right? And it's absurd too how they kill him. Like
88 minutes. Yeah. Sorry.
88 minutes. It's short. Down to they find out, oh, you got to kill him the nose. You shoot him. They would shoot him in the nose and they would die. And there's that big giant Godzilla clown at the end. And he's like, got him by the hand, the main guy. And he's firing bullets in his nose and nothing's doing it. Nothing's doing it. So he rips off his deputy star or whatever. And he throws that like a ninja star at his nose. And somehow that pierces his nose, but not all the bullets. I don't know. And I want to say the nose explodes and it's confetti. It's not even blood.
Yeah.
So fantastic movie. Fantastic movie. Sam Lombardo, thanks for joining the chat. He says Cannibal Holocaust shaped his youth. That's
Oh,
not
I'm
on
sure it
my
would.
list. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. How did that shape your youth? Like, what do you do now?
You eating some turtle soup there, Sam?
Grotesque, dude. I can't watch that movie.
It's good. I enjoy it, but I mean, I can see why people hate it.
So that's mine. So Todd's gonna go next, but after this point, we're finally escaping 1990, and things are gonna shift a little bit for me. But what's your next one?
So mine's gonna, I think, jump back to 91, 90. This is a movie that I recorded on HBO, and basically what he did, of course, he didn't have DVR. Take the blank tape. I mean, my dad, when we visited him, he had HBO, and we used to record whatever was on HBO for hours and hours and rewatch it later. This movie pops up, and I'm like, what the fuck is this movie? Appeals to kids, very enjoyable. It's a college movie, or not a college, high school movie, and a lot of people shit on it. Some people like it, a couple people like it, but it is probably one of my favorites. It's Rock and Roll High School Forever with Corey Feldman.
Okay. I like how you're prepared, by the way. You got all the physical copies out. I should have.
Yeah, this one's signed by the Corey himself.
Damn.
But,
did you get it signed at that concert?
Concert. I didn't buy the extra, meet and greet, so I had Lush get it signed for me. So
that's funny. I'm trying to think. He's one upping me because I should have got everything. I should have got the physical movies out too, so I could have flashed them. But no, gosh, have I fucking watched that? I want. I don't even know if I've ever watched it, and if I did, maybe I tried to watch it and couldn't
You
finish.
probably hated it. I mean, as an adult, you think it's stupid, but watching it as a kid, like people pranking people in high school and that sort of thing. It just, you love it as a kid.
Well, how does it hold up today for
I
you?
still, I love it, but I mean, I'm jaded because I've seen it a million times, so
It's
I can't.
so there's three tiers. There's I liked it as a kid, but it doesn't hold up, and it's no good as an adult. I don't like it anymore. There's it still holds up for me, but I'm admitting it's through nostalgia goggles, and I can understand why it's probably not that good. And there's, hey, this is legitimately a great movie still. Are you in the second tier there?
Second tier, yeah, because it's very quotable. It's something I grew up with. I mean, we quote it all the time. I introduced it to so many damn people, and yeah,
I don't know. I don't know which tier I would throw Killer Clowns in. It's kind of 2 and 3. Like I think Killer Clowns is legitimately for you gotta think it's supposed to be a hokey movie, right? It's definitely accomplishing what it's trying to be tenfold.
got a resurgence, yeah.
But I mean, like I genuinely think it's a great movie, but it's kind of both. But I if you don't like that kind of schlocky shit, you're gonna hate it. So okay, but yeah, okay. So you throw that in the second tier there. Now for me, if we have any movies, there's maybe 3 films tops on my list that I feel like you could have on yours too. We dodged a bullet with the Nightmare movie, but now we're getting into territory where we might have a couple. So tell me if we're on the same page here. While a great argument could be made that there's another movie of his that is maybe held even in higher regard today by me, I'd be lying if I put that on the list, and I'd be lying if I told you it wasn't Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I love Total Recall, right? And today, like I said, I used to say they were neck and neck. There's probably a lot of years where I'd say T2 is number 1, Total Recall. Now I'm like, Total Recall is probably creeping up to number 1. It just, there's something about it. It really scratches all those itches. But it was T2 Judgment Day that just did everything for a kid of that era. And it's still an incredible movie. I can't think of another movie that's more nostalgic when I watch it. I can't think of, there's few movies I can think of that I've watched more than T2. And I can quote that movie front to back and just everything's already been said about this flick, man. So ahead of its time. The effects are so ahead of their time. If you like big budget movie blockbusters, nothing did it better than T2. And this was 1991, 92, 93, like through Jurassic Park and stuff. That's where the blockbuster died after that. Then it became something different. But if you're going to make a blockbuster, it didn't have to be an ugly term. It was almost its own genre, and it could be just as great as the straight-to-video schlock or the indie stuff. But yeah, you wanted a blockbuster. You want T2, you want Jurassic Park. These movies that would take the insane budgets they got for those types of movies and utilized them. Now they take those budgets and they pander, they overpay 1 million actors for marketing. They film everything on a backlot behind a green screen. Little to nothing is shot on location anymore. Everything is needlessly CGI'd. No, Jim Cameron, dude, he fucking drove a semi and flipped it off a fucking bridge, man. Awesome shit. And it's just awesome. I don't know what to say. I mean, Riverman's probably going to talk about it too, but
it is, man. I remember renting that. I think we rented. We didn't see it in theaters. But we rented at my grandfather's house. My dad wanted us to watch it, and I was blown away, man. Special effects, everything about it. Movie was great. We loved it. We watched it 1 million times. But then again, you said that it was better than Total Recall, right?
At a time. Now, as I'm older, I think it's shifting where, like I said, it's all close. But now it's like, in my later years, I think Total Recall, because it is, I don't know, there's something cool about Total Recall. Maybe Total Recall is number 1 now.
And that'll kind of go into my next one, which was Total Recall.
And I had a feeling you were going to pick Total Recall.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's so close, and I just couldn't tell a lie because it's like, man, I'm talking about my youth here.
Mm.
Total Recall is not what exposed me to the. We didn't. Total Recall didn't have the commercial appeal for kids like T2 did. So
Yeah, and I can see that. I was really big into sci-fi when I was younger too. So it kind of checked all the boxes for me in sci-fi, and the practical effects were amazing. And well, I mean, it was CGI, but I mean, there's still good practical effects in T2. But yeah, something about Total Recall, I still love. It's probably my favorite. It's my favorite Arnold movie. But I
yeah,
could understand why it's T2. T2 is amazing as well, man. It could be either or for me.
but don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think Total Recall is my favorite now. But I could have put Total Recall on this list too, and I did just sort of pick one over the other. But it's like T2. It's
I'm
T2.
I'm glad you picked that because yeah, I had Total Recall. So
It's just which was the bigger gateway for a bunch of kids, T2. And so I don't know, but that's yeah. So Total Recall is amazing too. We could talk. And first of all, T2 holds up insanely well. It's still a perfect action
it
movie.
is.
Nothing's been made like it. They keep trying to repeat that success. Obviously, they keep failing, and they just let it fucking die. And Total Recall, if we're going to talk about that too, holds up. It's amazing. It's an incredible flick. It is top tier science fiction. It's a perfect T2 and Total Recall are perfect 10s, in my opinion.
Yep,
I can't say a bad thing about them.
I agree.
And the 4K that Riverman was holding up is fantastic.
Beautiful.
If anybody's like a visual file and they're a snob about that shit, dude, or if you have been considering making the leap to 4K, if you can watch that copy, that might convert you because it's gorgeous.
That's one of the first titles you should get if
I
you're getting a
love
4K player.
I love the warts and all stuff too. I love how 4K can make something look better, but also expose the film aspects. Like there's something about dude, the fucking blue screen shit pops hardcore on
Mhm.
that 4K, but I love it. I don't care.
It burns your pupils from all the red, dude. It's great. I love it.
I love it. Dude. Yeah, it's fantastic. So that worked out because Total Recall could have been on my list too. Now I'm getting into, and I probably saw, by the way, I saw T2 early on. I didn't see it in theaters, but as soon as it was on TV, VHS, by 92, 93, I was watching it. So
Yeah.
the next flick I have, and I couldn't not put this on the list. 1995. Was it 94 or 95? I think it's 95. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. And I had to put it on here because that was kind of like the next coming of the Turtles, as far as that was the next big thing, right? You had the Turtles that really kicked off in the late 80s, and that was still going strong in the early 90s and the mid 90s. And it never really died. But 1993, when the Power Rangers came out, it literally took some of that shine from the Turtles, and that became the thing. That's what all the kids were playing on the blacktops at school when that aired. It wasn't so much Turtles anymore as it was who's going to be the Red Ranger and who gets to be the Green Ranger. And now, admittedly, this whole Power Ranger hype thing only lasted a couple years. It was very short when you think about it, really, because 1993 it blew up, and then by 1995 they had the movie coming out. It was one of those things that was like a freight train. Like when they saw how big that movie was, they greenlit a movie right away, and that shit was out. And dude, I had to have the products, man. They were marketing. I remember begging my mom to buy Jello, and I like the little Jello boxes. You make the instant
Mhm.
Jello and shit, but we never ate Jello. I didn't like Jello. I still don't love Jello, but I had to have it because it had movie tie-in. Like you'd get one flavor and have like the movie version of Tommy on there, and I was like, and she would look at me like, "Do you really want to eat this, or you just want to buy it because it's Power Rangers?" I'm like, "No, I really want it, Mom. I love Jello," and totally lying. I just wanted everything Power Rangers, and I remember when that movie got announced, dude. It got announced in probably 94, and it was just peak to get hyped. And I remember when the Page Master came out,
Oh
and
yeah.
when that movie came out to rent on VHS, they put it on the front of the box to help sell that movie too. This includes the premiere to the Power Rangers movie trailer. It wasn't on
Mm.
commercials. It was the first place you could see it was on that fucking videotape. So we went to the video store, and we'd rent something usually every week. And I told my mom, like, I really want to rent this. And once again, she gave me that look like, do you really want to see this? Or do
The
you
movie
just want,
stinks. Yeah,
like, do you really just want it because of this trailer?
I
And I was like, no, I like Macaulay. Ah. And I was lying. I just wanted to see the fucking trailer. And the movie, yeah, the movie sucked, man. That Page Master, it's not good. But that's how big it was. And I remember my dad, he I can't think of another time where he did something like this. Like he never got us really gifts, but I credit it to he was fresh out of prison, and I think he was trying to just make an impression. You know, he had that brief period where he's trying to like make good with the family again.
think
Like I'm
amends.
back,
Yeah.
I'm changed, I'm a changed man, and that
Mm.
always lasted like a year before he tailed it again. But he had just came back, and I caught him on that like wave of him trying to make amends, and the movie came out in VHS right as he got out of prison. And I remember his first job that he got back out of prison as like some short order cook. He bought me that VHS, man, and I was fucking amped. It had the big clamshell case, and I still love that clamshell case. And I watched it, and at the time, I loved it. But even at the time, I'm like, do I really love this, or am I just so blinded by the hype of Power Rangers? I don't know, but I can tell you, it doesn't hold up today. it's not. It's not a good movie. And you know, it's still nostalgic, but it's not a good movie. And I don't. I'm trying to think. It's not. It's somewhere between that 1 and 2 tier for me. Where no, it's just not good, but it's fun to pop in every now and again because it just takes me back. But it's not a good flick, man. I think that's the first one on my list. I could say, you know, you had to have been there, I guess. What's your opinion? You probably missed the boat on Power Rangers because
No, I watched Power Rangers and I didn't see the movie until I was older and I wasn't really into it, but
so for me, I think I was at the perfect age. But I'm telling you, by 1995, I was over it and I was done. Then I just sort of expired. Like I didn't watch it after the initial Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Then it became Zeo and like Turbo. Nope. I pretty much just was around for the first 3 seasons of the main series before it changed. And you being like a year and a half older than me, I could see where you might have missed more of it because that's all it took was a couple of years.
I was into the Rita Repulsa Lord Zed era, but that was it. I mean,
Yeah, that was the original era. Yeah.
yeah. So
Which was the movie too. And like I said, it doesn't hold up. But with that said, if they ever put it out in 4K, I'd have to buy it. I'd have to fucking buy it, dude. It's so fucking bad. Anyway, that's mine. 1995. What about you?
oh god. Let me see when this movie came out. 87, I believe. So this movie
Ooh.
was an what?
Oh, I'm hope it's not going to be my 1987 movie, but go ahead. I can only hope. What is it?
No. So this movie was a family favorite of mine. Um, I used to watch it with my mom all the time. She was a huge fan of it. We thought it was funnier than shit. Um, two of our favorite actors growing up. My grandparents loved it too. So it was a family friendly comedy, romantic comedy. And it's the 1987 film Overboard
Oh, love that flick,
with
dude.
Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. This movie it brings you back to the 90s for me. I know it came out in 87, but we watched this. This was a cable movie for us, or a Fox 42 local channel movie where
Yeah.
they put it on and on and on, and it's like I want to say it's like a Forrest Gump where you turn it on, you have to watch the whole damn thing,
Hmm.
and then it has you crying in the end for some kids that it has you laughing, it has you crying, all that stuff.
It
So
paints a really shitty message that hey, you can really
and
win
trick
love in a
somebody.
new family by deceiving them.
Yeah,
Because she obviously it's that old trope of she wants to be with them and she realizes like they're what I was missing in my life.
yep.
All that bullshit, but like really, it's like Kurt Russell, you're kind of a piece of shit.
He is, but the movie has you in tears at the end, dude. And
It's great.
especially when the kids are pounding on the limo. No, don't let mom go. Blah, 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 blah. It's like you're like
Fantastic.
crying, dude. You're like, don't
Fantastic.
go. So yeah, that's one movie that still holds up to this day. I mean, I don't know if it's nostalgia for me, but I would put it in the middle tier. I mean, some people, I don't know if people like it or not, but I love it, man.
I that doesn't make this list because I don't really associate it with my youth as far as like real memorable movies. I think I watched it once or twice on like TBS or something, so that doesn't really make the cut there. But it's awesome. It's a great movie, and I love it. I think it's a movie that
It's clean, family-friendly
yeah,
comedy,
and I
which is
love
nice.
comedies. I love comedies of that era. I know comedy doesn't always translate. Like Vacation is one of the funniest movies of all time.
We still love that too. Yeah,
One of the greatest comedies of all time. That could have been on the list,
yeah,
but it's not on my list. But it probably should have been. But that movie, I can understand where late 70s era comedy like that isn't going to translate to an audience today if you're younger or whatever, because it's just like when if I try and convince somebody that's a Gen Zer to watch a movie from 1992, they're gonna be like, "Ew, that's old." I'm like, okay, but I get it, and I don't think people are gonna like. I could see why a kid isn't gonna think Stripes is funny, right?
yeah.
Or Caddyshack. I totally get it. I can understand how younger people probably wouldn't get MASH, the show, which MASH is fantastic,
Yeah.
and the dry humor of MASH is really good, and but it's not probably kid humor. So, but I love Overboard. I think it's an awesome romantic comedy, and they tried to remake that a couple years ago with Anna Faris. Fucking
No.
why? But yeah, it's great.
And I'm with you on Vacation because I mean, we watched that movie many times with my family too, and we love that. But I was trying to think out the box a little bit, some of the other ones. So
Yeah, it just didn't come to my mind. But okay, so my next one is all right. So now, before when we're talking when I was like 4 years old, we kind of got to my foundational horror period, right? Talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Child's Play, Halloween 2, Killer Clowns. These are my earliest memories. Now I'm going to go through sort of my second phase of horror, and that's going to represent pretty much the rest of my list. And I couldn't tell you the next movie I probably saw probably early, maybe 94, something like that, in the earlier 90s. So I was probably like 8 or something like that. And to this day, it is one of the greatest movies of all time, in my opinion. Hellraiser, the original Hellraiser. And it's topical because everybody's talking about the Hulu Hellraiser series that's coming out. In my opinion, if you look at that trailer and you look at the stills, it just kind of looks like another straight to video sequel, but I'm going to watch it and I'll reserve judgment. But I am terminally skeptical with this franchise. No amount of hype or new hands you put it in is going to get me too excited for anything new in the Hellraiser universe because while this original movie is a 10 out of 10, still at the top of my list of horror movies. I think it's better than every Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I think it's better than as a movie. It's so fucking good. It doesn't matter. There's been no other franchise that has been drugged through the mud more than fucking Hellraiser, and it's sad because whereas Freddy has a lot of good flicks, he's got some shit movies, but he's got a lot of great ones. Same thing with Halloween. He's got a few good movies. There's really just a few good Halloween movies when you think about it. Dude, Hellraiser's got one awesome movie, and it's the franchise that should have never been. It should have been a standalone movie, and I can't help but think that if it was a standalone flick, it would just be respected a little bit more as a property and IP. But then again, maybe it wouldn't be as known as it is today if they didn't milk it out like a Freddy Krueger thing. So the jury's out on that, but I can't say enough. When I first saw Hellraiser, like I said, I was probably 8 or so, something like that. It was genuinely scary. And
it is. Yeah.
Dude, the first time when opening up the box and you see the blue light come through the window shades, the blinds, and you hear the music box, and then the chains start to swing. Dude, it's still creepy. I think it's still genuinely a creepy
Uncle
piece.
Frank. Yeah.
Oh.
It's creepier than shit. I agree with you.
And I love, like I said, by the time we got to the third one, they were trying to turn Pinhead into their mascot, into a Freddy Krueger. He wasn't the antagonist. The Cenobites were not the antagonists of the first movie. It was Frank. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant that you had a Pinhead, you had Cenobites to market the movie, but they were at the very beginning of the movie and the very end of the movie, and that's it. It was about Frank, and you never saw him. But what, like any good action or suspense movie, you got to have that ticking time bomb. You got to have something over your shoulders at all times. And in this movie, it was the Cenobites are going to find Frank. Like, even though Frank was the asshole and he deserved it, he was the guy, getting Julia to kill people and he was killed. They were the main antagonists. You were still scared about the Cenobites showing up. Not, I don't know. It's kind of probably a mix because it's like, yeah, Uncle Frank's a piece of shit. You kind of want him to get his dues, but at the same time, man, they was just creepy. You didn't want him to show up.
Well, seeing that skinned Frank that was probably some of the best practical effects you can get, man.
And I even like the effects that they shit. Well, they always shit on the heart under the stairs, under the floor, right? And I think I've watched that in documentaries where they talk about like budgeting issues, or they had to get that at last minute, and it's literally like this weird like Ziploc bag, like pump. It looks bad, but I don't give a shit. And I love after that when he's first getting resurrected, dude, they have that scene before it cuts away where it's just his torso coming out of the ground and he's screaming. Ah! It's so fucking cool, man. I love it. And just iconic, just that look of Frank when he gains most of his body and he's got that white shirt, right, with the bloody fingerprints on it and stuff. Icon status. I think Frank is one of the greatest villains because he represents not just the other world. He represents humans, man.
Yep.
Human beings are the scummiest of all scumbags, dude. And he's awesome. I fucking love it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I could talk about Hellraiser all day long, but I'll say it again. Even 2 should have never happened. Even 2 should have never happened. I don't. People could think of it as like a Halloween 2, right? Where it's a continuation of the first one, because it is. It's just like Halloween 2 in that regard, but it sucks.
See, I like 2. That's where probably disagree there, but I like 2.
The biggest crime that 2 commits is how it shits on the first one. I could see as a standalone movie if somebody watched Hellraiser 2 by itself and maybe even never seen the first one, I could see the allure. It's still got like that fantastical aspect and a lot of crazy shit going on, but just the first one was so pure. Like I said, it was about what you didn't see. It was all atmosphere. And then when you do it, it was like edging. When the Cenobites finally show up at the end, it's earned, man, and it's creepy. And I like the concept of them just being minions from hell. I don't want backstory. And in the second one, they took us to hell, which hell and that is not scary at all.
It was a green screen. Yeah.
It's just not scary. It's a labyrinth, right? They describe it as a labyrinth hell. And it's like a big maze and whatever, and you have Leviathan, which is a fucking diamond. Just that is okay, great. The story and the lore of it's kind of neat, I guess, if you want to read up on it. But I don't want to know that. I don't want to know what hell looks like, because my hell is going to be way scarier than it was, and I don't want the Cenobites to have been real people. Yeah, it raises your eyebrows and it gets you thinking a little bit, like when the doctor is killing all the Cenobites at the end, and he's shooting spears at them, and then it cuts to each one of them dead, and and you get to see him in human form. Yeah, when you see that Chatterer is a little kid, it makes you go, ooh, wonder what made this kid so bad to earn him his spot in hell. I get it. It does that a little bit, but I'd rather it not be there. I just want them to be minions from hell. I like the idea of Frank being a human. I love that. I like the idea of them just being generals, the Cenobites and their gash. That's what they call their clique, their little, guilds they have in there. It just ruined it, man. They lifted the veil way too much, and they just bit off more than they can chew. And shame on Clive Barker, because he did have something to do with the second one. He produced the second one. And it's like, dude, you shouldn't have signed off on that shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, fucking love it. That's 10 out of 10. Still holds up today. And to wrap it up, I can dissociate. I can watch the first one and just pretend like the rest of the movies don't exist. And that's how I enjoy the movie. I watch the original movie and I pretend as if 2 doesn't exist. I pretend like the Cenobites are just mysterious beings from hell, and I pretend like I don't know what hell looks like. I pretend like I'm watching it the year it came out and no sequel has come out yet. And it's incredible that way. So anyway, what is your next one?
Sure to mine. My 10 out of 10, which is obvious, so I'll just get it out. Of course, Dawn of the Dead. The one I have here is the U.S. cut, I believe. It's not the director's cut; it's just the theatrical cut. Which, I mean, this is a Video Treasures Anchor base. So this is the first VHS I ever owned as a kid, and I believe this came out in like what 96. So it was the first movie I bought with my own money, and what can I say? It's fantastic. I love it. I love the director's cut as well. And then I'm not a huge fan of the Argento cut because I think it's kind of shitty, but um, it's still solid. But there's not much I can say about it. I love the movie, 10 out of 10. It's probably my favorite movie. It's the movie that got me into special effects, and it's kind of the movie. It's not the first horror movie I watched, but it's the one that really jump started me into getting into the horror genre. If that makes sense.
And that's on my list too. And I have to jump up because that was actually the final movie on my list because I didn't watch that movie and wasn't introduced into it until I met you, and I would have been like 14. So I take it back. Yeah, that's as late as I went on my list is 14, and I ended it with Dawn of the Dead. And so yeah, it's a total game changer. I obviously wasn't watching it as long as you, but it's a perfect flick. And I seeing it at 14, I have enough years with it to where to me it still makes that nostalgic classic period for me. And it's great. It's a 10 out of 10. I think it's amazing. I wish I could have been around when it first came out. I wish I
Oh
could have
yeah.
saw that in some sleazy theater. That would have been really cool. Been a part of all the hype behind it and all the the taboo of it and how violent it
Mhm.
was and all that stuff. And I love the effects. I love the documentary on that, the featurette,
Yeah.
the make it of. It's so great. And I actually don't even know. That's got to be on that 4K set, right?
Yeah, the Document of the Dead. Yeah, it is.
I love it. Yeah, I watched that on the Blu-ray and stuff, and I like it as much as the movie, man. It's so cool to see how they made that thing and what they
Hmm.
did to make it happen. And like you said, the effects. I love them talking about the Puerto Rican raid
Oh
and the
yeah.
exploding head where it's just like a condom or a balloon filled with like chewed up hot dog and mustard and ketchup
Yep.
and everything
Yeah.
about, and I never could really fuck with Day of the Dead that much. I'm not saying Day of the Dead's bad, but just it's really hurt for me next to Dawn of the Dead because things got a little too real in Day of the Dead. The zombie effects are it's modern. To me, that's like the modern
It's
zombie.
probably the best special effects you'll see on screen is Day of
It's
the
the
Dead.
it's the modern zombie. It's kind of emulated even today with the way those Dawn of the Dead was like the last bastion of blue
Comic
skin,
comic book zombie.
yeah, and bright red blood. But I love it. I like it better than Dead of the Dead. I love those zombies. I love how they look. I love the 70s, dude. I can smell the mall.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Like I could just smell how that mall smells. I love it. I love all the 70s colors. I love the fact that they had brown derbies in the fucking malls back then. I love the mall culture. I would have loved to have been in a shopping mall like that back in that day when they were really coming out and making their splash and stuff like that. And also just too, it's just a more fun setting than Day of
Hmm.
the Dead. The mall is such a fun setting, and
It
it's also
is.
watching that as a kid. Like, how cool is that? Like, man, I always dreamt of stuff like that. Like,
That's why it appealed me so much. Yeah.
I'd love to be trapped in a mall and live in a mall, and I could just take everything and have fun at the arcades and just it would be so fucking cool. Um, but it's fantastic. I think it's top of the heap. It's fantastic. When I think of perfect horror movies. Um, some of my favorites I wouldn't call perfect, but I think Hellraiser's a perfect horror movie. I think Dawn of the Dead's a perfect horror movie. There's another one on my list that I haven't said yet that's a perfect horror movie, but that's, it's a pretty short list, I think. But
No, I agree. I gotta pee real quick, but I will be back.
go piss real quick and I'll shoot the shit here. Yeah, Riverman's always been huge in the Day of the Dead. I don't know, man. I like Night of the Living Dead. Day of the Dead's fine. Land of the Dead we've talked about quite a bit, and it is what it is. But Dawn of the Dead is something special, man. And I love that soundtrack. I'd love to get a copy of that vinyl. I'd like it, the Goblin soundtrack. I have the Suspiria soundtrack, which is also fantastic. I wish I could put some Argento on this list, but I didn't come to the Argento train until a bit later, so that'd be a bit of a cop out. But I think Suspiria is pretty close to flawless, and Tenebra is really fucking good, and I love Phenomena. I think those are fantastic movies as well. As far as the Italian stuff, I think Todd's really into Fulci. I know he loves Zombie. I was never the biggest fan of Fulci, but he's all right. His stuff, I remember watching House by the Cemetery when I was like a little kid, probably way too fucking young, and I just didn't get it. So maybe it's just kind of how I was exposed to it. But when I came around to that stuff later, I definitely appreciated it a bit more. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I'm surprised looking at these posters on his wall that he hasn't said like a Last House on the Left, because I know Todd loves that movie. He obviously brought up Dawn of the Dead. We see that poster. Day of the Dead's probably not going to make his list. Uh, there's a movie that I'm kind of wondering if Pulp Fiction is going to show up on his list, because I know he's a big Pulp Fiction guy, as I am too, but it's not on my list. But so I think we have four more flicks to talk about. No, sorry, three, because he I canceled out Dawn of the Dead there. All right. Yeah, and Sam Lombardo, I saw Cannibal Holocaust probably kind of late. I want to say I saw Cannibal Holocaust probably 15 years ago. I was probably 20, 21, and my roommate at the time was really, really into horror. And this is before it got a re-release, and I think it was still not on store shelves, because I don't remember when that finally got released again widely. But he had a copy of it, and we watched it together, and I was just mortified. Um, and it's the movie was actually good though. I was actually surprised at the quality of it, but just yeah, the turtle scene got me. It was brutal. It wasn't even so much as the woman on the pike and the through the vagina or the ass or whatever the hell they went. I mean that I could take, dude, but killing that real turtle, it was tough to stomach. I like how Riverman goes all out with his screensaver there on his TV. Very fall, very autumn. So 2 days from now is going to be the first day of fall. Fucking stoked. My birthday, first day of fall. It's only fitting. Riverman's back. It, I was gonna say I was kind of shooting the shit while you're gone and talking about like Argento, talking about it stemmed from Dawn of the Dead and how great that soundtrack is. And then I started talking about Suspiria and how awesome that soundtrack is too. And then I was like saying I wish I could put Argento on this list, but I didn't come into Argento until much later, so that'd be cheating. And yeah,
Yeah, I didn't either. I don't have Argento on this list either.
but I mean I think Suspiria is pretty close to perfection. And I love Phenomena too. And yeah, I think Tenebrae is really good. That's probably top three Argento. And then I started going into Fulci. I know you liked Fulci. You love Zombie. I I appreciate Fulci now more as an adult. But that's one of my earliest movie memories. By the way, is House by the Cemetery. I remember
Mm.
watching House by the Cemetery during one of those creature features when I was like 4, and that's not the gateway movie for a kid. You know what I mean? So I kind of passed off that stuff for the longest time. I remember I tried watching that. I remember I picked up a DVD copy of House by a Cemetery like when I was 17 or something. And I tried giving it a go, and I still have it. I actually really like it. The DVD copy I have, but I couldn't get into it. But I rewatched it a few years ago. I think with Joe Bob, and I finally understood it a little better. But that's because between the last time and the current time, I had seen some more Argento stuff. I had better gateways into Fulci. I don't think you should go straight to Fulci. I think there's other more stuff to.
No, you really shouldn't. And sorry to you brought it up, but this is on my list. Zombie is on my list for
Oh, was it?
yes. So
I told you it probably would be while you're gone.
yeah, and that's one VHS. I was big in the zombie movies after Dawn of the Dead. Of course, Day of the Dead is I love Day of the Dead. Night of the Living Dead. I love Night of the Living Dead even more as I'm getting older. It's my go-to Halloween movie. I'm gonna watch a movie. I'm gonna watch Night of the Living Dead, the original one. But Zombie, I thought it was gonna be a Romero type of movie when I got it because I got it on VHS. I got the old Anchor Bay version, and I I didn't know what to think about it. Like then I saw that the shark fighting scene in the beginning. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then once I saw the eyeball scene, um, I was blown away. I was grossed out, dude. I was like, oh, this is fucking sick, dude. I can't believe I'm watching this. So man, it just really stuck with me. The special effects as I was a kid, I didn't appreciate it as much throughout the movie itself. I focused on the special effects as I got older. I love this movie more. So it's one of those things where yeah, you go in for the gore as a kid, but you come out as an adult and actually loving the movie.
So I still haven't watched my 4K. How is the 4K?
It is amazing looking. You need
Really?
to watch it, man. Yeah, it looks beautiful. It's probably one of the best 4Ks to watch.
I'll have to maybe I'll try and watch that this week because I kind of when you get such a stockpile of shit, you kind of forget you have stuff for a while.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and I still haven't watched my Angel Heart. I think that was the last 4K I bought. I haven't been buying much, but we're approaching the holiday season, which is 4K buying weather, right? That's it's like when you get all the cheap shit. But yeah, I'll have to watch Zombie here soon. But okay, so that was on yours. My next one. Okay, I don't really know 100% when I first saw this movie, but I'm just gonna say it was around when I saw Hellraiser, so probably 8, something like that. And this is my other so this is a perfect 10 for me, and it's one of the greatest movies of all time. Actually, I usually say this movie or Rocky 1 is the greatest movie of all time, and I give it to Alien. I think the original Alien is just perfection. Everything about it, and to me, it's the ultimate example of a collaborative effort. In the fact that people talk about, oh, I love this guy's movies. I love this director's films. No, it's not one guy that makes a movie. Because Ridley Scott, he's got some great movies, but he's got more shit movies, in my opinion, than he does really great movies. And that's almost everybody. Nobody is like without sin in their filmography. And just like Dan O'Bannon has written some shit, but he wrote this, right? But there's just something about it that the whole movie was firing on all cylinders. Between the direction, the Dan O'Bannon script is fantastic. The cinematography to me is damn near unrivaled. The soundscapes in this fucking movie are insane. They captured isolation like no other movie could, and you get that not only from the set pieces and how dark it is, but you get it from the soundscapes and how it feels. Everything about the movie feels so claustrophobic, and it's got like that big iconic scene that every movie wishes it could have, and the chest bursting scene, which at the time, now the chest burster and all that stuff, that's icon status now. We all know what the aliens do, but once again, if you could put yourself back in 1979 seeing that in a theater and seeing when that scene happens, it would have just been earth shattering.
Yeah.
Totally nuts. And it still looks fantastic to this day. Some people kind of fuck with the how it bursts out and then it's on the ground and you see it like running and there's like a close up of the baby alien and it clearly looks like it's a puppet on a stick and they're just doing this like it's looking. I don't care. It looks fucking fantastic.
What is the 4K look? Because I've been meaning to pick that 4K up. Is it
fantastic?
Look good?
Fantastic.
It does.
And the only reason that 4K looks great is because the Blu-ray also looked fucking great.
Okay.
Did you get that 4K? Did you get the Blu-ray box set?
I have the DVD box set DVD. I never upgraded. I need to upgrade it.
the Blu-ray box set, the quadrilogy that you could literally for the longest time get for $10 for
Mhm.
years. I don't know if you can now, but for years you could still find that thing on Walmart shelves for $9.99, and it is bar none the greatest bang for your buck box set you'll ever find because it came in a hard shell, beautiful case. This is before things went flimsy and they got real shitty, and it had all four movies and just the most gorgeous transfers. Like that was an early Blu-ray. And I mean, it probably looks better than some 4Ks. It's just gorgeous. And every film had just loaded to the nine at bonus discs of special features, featurettes, new interviews with the directors at the time introducing the films, except for Fincher. Fantastic. But anyway, with that said, Alien 4K looks fantastic, but I will say that the jump wasn't noticeable for me just because the Blu-ray looks so fucking astounding.
Okay,
It
so
really-
it'll be a big jump for me then, since
it'll be a massive jump for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the Blu-ray set's great too. And I can't wait for them to come out with Aliens whenever they're going to do that. The Cameron. The thing is that movie came out 7 whole years later, so we probably have to wait for a anniversary. But it's fantastic. I love it. I can't say enough about it. I think it does slow burn right. Also, what else is? Not only was everything else perfect about this movie, even down to the tagline and the marketing was brilliant. I mean, think of in space, no one can hear you scream. It is the most perfect tagline.
It is.
They even had the most perfect title. Like at the time, bold, Alien. Now that would be considered generic, right? But that's because Alien's already done it. But at the time, man, it was up for grabs, and you just call your movie fucking Alien. The intro scene where it's, you're getting that zoom in, and you got the letters coming in one line at a time, icon status. And obviously the tagline, the log line is so perfect because obviously it's a double entendre, right? Because there's no sound in space anyway, because you really couldn't. But also the horror of it, right? No one can hear you. Yeah, there's a monster on loose. And it's a slasher movie. It's a total monster movie. Whereas the second one, obviously, this is retreading what's been told a million times. Aliens is obviously an action sci-fi horror movie. It's very action. You got the stakes are high. You got the fucking Marines, space colonial Marines in there with machine guns. You got a million different aliens coming at you, and it's a blood feast. It's amazing in its own right. That's also a perfect 10. But the first one is a straight up slow burn monster movie. It's a slasher. And the last thing I'll say about it is what it does so perfectly is, unlike a lot of slashers, you love all the supporting characters. All the support characters are written so well. They're all unique. They all have their own characteristics about them. And, for me, I feel it when each one of them dies and gets picked off. I think it's great. It's not just about Sigourney Weaver, even though she's awesome. So, anyway, it's fantastic. What's your history with Alien, though? How do you feel about the movie?
I love the movie, and I need to go back and actually get it on 4K because I loved it as a kid. It's not something that I have revisited as much as you, of course, but yeah, I need to go back and pick it up on 4K and rewatch it.
I would say if you have the sound system out there for it, and you got a big old fucking OLED screen or something, dude, I can't think of a movie that would just look and sound better if you had the equipment to really bring the best out of it. I can't think of anything better.
Yeah.
So, dude, turn out the lights, have a big old screen, and have some surround sound. I felt the claustrophobia watching it on like a little 12-inch TV back in the day in the dark in my bedroom. I can only imagine if you have all that equipment going for you. Incredible. But go ahead. I guess it would be your turn. Oh, that's obviously A tier for me, man. It's still amazing, by the way. Go ahead.
And you go from you said a 10 out of 10 for that one?
Definitely.
And I go to from Dawn of the Dead as a 10 out of 10 for me. I go to another 10 out of 10. And I don't know if you would think this is a 10 out of 10, but when I was a kid, I rented this in the video store on VHS, and I was fucking blown away. This is one of those movies that you go in, you pick up the VHS, you're like, okay, this looks, the cover is not too, out there for you. It doesn't really draw you in as much. But after watching this, I watched it like 3 times because I was blown away, and it just makes your skin crawl. This fucking movie, made me feel dirty, and I fucking loved it, man. When I was a kid,
Oh,
and I
I
still
think
love it now.
do I know what it is? Is it Henry?
It's Henry.
Oh yeah. All you had to say was it makes you feel dirty.
Yeah, it makes your fucking skin crawl. This movie is when somebody says what's a great horror film. Um, in my mind, I mean, some people say Friday the 13th, some people say Nightmare on Elm Street. It's Henry. This is scary, dude. This shit is fucking real life, dude. I mean, the way this was filmed, Michael Rooker and Tom Towles, they're fantastic. Everything about this movie, it's like I said years ago, it's like an episode on Unsolved Mysteries, the way it was filmed, and it fucking holds up. And I don't think this has a 4K release in the U.S., but man, if this ever gets a 4K release, I can't wait. And I want pack special features with Michael Rooker. Everything about this movie it's great, man.
And I watched this movie before I really knew what exploitation was as a terminology, right? I just knew it as Henry. And but now it's like obviously now it's one of the king of exploitation movies because it's not really horror, it's just total exploitation. And I'm not even into exploitation. That's not really my genre. This movie gets a pass because it's downright, it makes you feel icky.
It's a serial killer movie. Yeah,
But it's so much more. God, it's so dude, that scene when they're dancing with the camera and just obviously when they get the camera and they kill that guy for the camera, but that dancing scene and filming the sister and all that shit, dude, it's just I don't know. I feel like Rob Zombie really tries to capture that kind of redneck fucking creepy with like stuff like the Firefly family, and he'll just
Mhm.
never carry. He has the inferior Otis. Let's say that the
Yeah.
inferior Otis. and
Oh, absolutely.
I don't even know his name. I thought his name was used to say Tom Tolles. Tolles. Is it Towles or Tolles?
Towles. Towels
Is
or
it
Tolls?
Towles or Tolles?
I
I
don't
always say
know.
Tolles, but you may know him from Seinfeld. But
Mm.
yeah, it's a great movie, and gosh, man, I mean, honestly, I that could have made the list for me too because you introduced that movie to me, and I was a teenager, so I just didn't think about it to be honest with you. But fantastic movie, and I don't even know how to rate the movie to be honest because it's it's fantastic, but for different reasons. It's not a movie I can watch all the time because it does make you feel dirty. It's not an easy watch,
It's not a
but it's
mainstream horror. It's a horror.
but it is powerful.
Yeah.
So on impact alone, it gets a high mark. But yeah, it's not something I can digest at any old day of the week. You know, I'm not gonna watch that with the lady. I'm just not.
No.
Has your wife ever seen that?
No, she's never watched it.
How old does your kids have to be for you to sit down and
I'll
watch
wait. I'll wait till they're teenagers and their late teens.
it?
'Cause
Dude?
I don't know. I'm pretty protective on what they watch.
Yeah, I'd start with Killer Clowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, something like Killer Clowns, something where there's a clear indicator of fictional and reality. But Henry, the line's a little blurred.
It's
Just
real. It's pretty much just reality.
and it's been based on Henry Lee Lucas, but
Yeah.
it's not super accurate to the real.
No. But Michael Rooker, man. I mean, God,
Yeah,
that guy is phenomenal.
but it's enough because
Yeah.
they based it off Henry Lee Lucas and Otis and their relationship. The amount that is true is enough because they really did go on a killing spree. And I mean, did the camera shit happen? Probably not. Did the no, but who cares? The fact that you have two crazy motherfuckers that were raping and murdering people across the country is enough.
Yeah.
It's real. And they were doing it at a time where you could still kind of get away with it. As long as you kept
Prior
moving.
internet and
Yeah. I mean,
forensics and all that stuff. Yeah.
we had DNA and shit, but like, dude, they were just drifting.
Mhm.
They were drifting, and they were killing people that weren't going to be missed and leaving them in a ditch, and they kept on moving. It's like they Henry Lee Lucas had to turn himself in
Yeah.
before he didn't get caught. So, and he was batshit crazy. If you've seen any of the documentaries on him where they're interviewing
Mhm.
him, he's not there. Like that guy,
Yeah, he's out of his fucking mind.
yeah, he's crazy. He should never have been even let out. So, but yeah, I feel gross just even thinking about the movie. All right, my next movie. Okay, this movie, I saw it sometime in the mid '90s. I don't really remember when. Definitely after Alien. And this movie is notable because it was a movie that legit scared me as a quote unquote older kid. Because now I was an older kid. So when I say older kid, being 10 years old, I wasn't scared of Chucky anymore. I wasn't scared of Freddy. That's old enough to realize it's kind of campy and stuff. That stuff really hit home when you were like 4 and 5. But I saw this movie. I think I watched it by myself, and just now I had moved on to a different league where it's like, yeah, killer dolls aren't scary, burnt molesters aren't scary, but demonic possession scary. And I have to give it Amityville Horror,
Yeah,
the original. As much as I'd love to be hip and say it's the second one, I gotta say it's the first one because that's the one I saw first, and
it's great.
it legit scared the fuck out of me being a younger kid. And yeah, dude, something about dude, I just it's a real slow burn. The performances are fantastic. I I don't think I can't say it's like a 10 out of 10. I don't think it's I don't know if it is powerful today as it was when I first saw it, but it just the imagery is really cool. I love Jody the pig. That brief glimpse where he's getting everybody out of the house and he looks up in the window. It's raining. He's going back in to get the dog. Get the dog, and then he stops and he looks up in the attic window, the bed, and you see that flash of the pig, and it's literally just like one of those flashlights with a picture.
Yeah.
It looks really cheap, but dude, it cuts so fast. It's creepy because you don't see him. The only other
Mhm.
time you see him is also creepy, dude. When it's the mom. The mom comes in, Margot Kidder, asking the daughter, "Who you talking to?" "Oh, it's my friend Jody." Blah 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 blah. And she will, come to dinner or go to bed or whatever. And she goes to shut the window, and you just see the eyes.
Yep.
Dude, okay, I get it. It looks like clearly a little toy. It's just like two little glowing red eyes that are. It doesn't matter. It fucking made me shit my pants.
It's creepy as fuck, dude. It is.
Maybe, and so that's all you get to see at the time. And then at the very end, you actually see a flash of what looks to be like a whole face, and it's like really big. It's like, what the fuck is that? And if I recall, gosh, I don't even remember in the book, it's detailed more extensively of Jody being a pig. Like, oh, she's
Mhm.
an invisible like pig. Oh, oh, cute. It took the form of a pig. I don't remember them actually calling it a pig in the movie. You just see it, right?
Yeah.
It's like because so when you see the two little red beady eyes in the pitch dark when she's closing the window, you kind of hear a snort grunt
Mhm.
when it's moving away. And then at the end, when you see a flash of it in the window, you see like a demonic, like pig looking face. So that's all you really get out of it. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's like it's not a 10 because it's probably a little too slow in parts.
I think it's an 8.5 out of 10.
It's a high movie, but yeah,
Yeah, it's
I'm not going to give it a 10 just because it probably does meander a little bit in a couple of parts. It's a little slow at times.
it's fantastic though.
It's fantastic. I love the scenery. I love upstate New York. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to visit Long Island, right? And I just love the beachside towns of the Northeast and how it always looks in those movies, right? Um, with the fall leaves, yet you see the ocean side. I love that house.
Mhm.
Everything about it is iconic. And I'm trying to think,
I'm looking forward to the 4K coming out. I think Vinegar Cinema's putting that out later this year.
and I absolutely love Amityville 2, and that's where
I do too.
that's where the buck stops. But and I saw that as a late teen. I was probably 16 when I saw that. I got a VHS copy. It's pretty rad. But if I have to be totally honest, the movie would be fucking really high if it wasn't for the edit. Like I've said this before on the podcast before. I would love to see somebody re-edit that movie because the fact that it's all like top loaded. It's like all the cool shit happens at the beginning, and then he kind of kills his family kind of early, and then they get him in custody, and then it turns into like a interrogation thing, and it's like the after effect, and he escapes and goes to the church, which is cool, but it's got a pacing issue. It's like what I've always been of the mind that they should have done a frailty approach, right? Where start off after he's already been captured.
Yep.
Like edit the footage where he's telling the story from jail after he's being interrogated, then splice in that footage throughout and have it be like Interview with a Vampire, Frailty, where the modern day, and you could have all the same footage. You don't even have to cut anything, just resequence it, and it would just be so much better balanced because because why not? Everybody already knew what happened. It's literally just giving you the backstory of what they said happened in the first movie and what supposedly happened and what happened in real life with DeFeo. They had to change his names for the movie because the DeFeos were the real people. And so it's not like you're spoiling anything. Just come out of the gate, have them caught for the crimes we knew already happened, and pace it out like that. So I would love for somebody to like do that and put it up on YouTube. Be fucking awesome. But the first one, all the way, man. I think what's his face? James Brolin's incredible. He had a real presence, dude. He just looks like a leading man too, man. He's got that Michael Landon fucking hair and that manly beard, and
he's fantastic.
He's like that manly 70s dad, dude, that would have whooped your ass. Like if you would have spoke out a line, dude, he would have taken his belt off and beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to picking that up because I don't own that on Blu-ray. I think I have the VHS was the last time I own that, and I do love that movie. So,
and it's coming out on 4K, which is it Shout putting that out too?
Vinegar Syndrome.
Vinegar Syndrome. So I have the Shout box set, the trilogy, which
you got that. That thing's hard to find.
Yeah, I have that, and I have Amityville 3 is shit. I don't 3 is garbage, but it's got the first 3, and I remember I bought that off Scream Factory. And I'm guessing at the time they only had one because I bought it brand new and I clearly got a used copy.
Oh, okay.
Because it was opened, no more shrink wrap. The box was damaged. All the VHSs had the cases, the Blu-ray cases. They showed signs of being handled before. I think I got a return, and they didn't even they're a shitty company. They're a real shitty company.
Yeah.
But I just accepted it. Like it is what it is. Like I think even one of the Blu-ray cases is damaged.
Well, that thing's been out of print for like 5 years at least.
And that's why I wasn't gonna, because I probably got it about 5 years ago, and I think when I got it, I think it was right on that verge of I need to get this because it's getting harder to find. So like I said, I just figured I got the last one they had, and I wasn't even gonna argue with them, but they should have offered me a discount or something. But anyway, I have to give props to it because that just scared the shit out of me. But what's next for you? I got one more after this.
So this is the last one then, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll do honorable mentions.
Well, we could. I basically just kind of baked in my honorable. That'll probably go on too long. If you have a couple you want to mention,
I'll just do one more then.
Okay.
This is the one that, man, it really affects you as a kid. It affects me now. It's a perfect 10 when I was a kid. It's a perfect 10 now. Everything about this movie is great. It's really great around Christmas time. I saw this one of the first dates of my wife. We watched this in one of these artsy fartsy theaters, and she loves it, of course, as well. But I'll just show it. The Shining.
That's mine. That's my last one.
That's your last one.
Yep.
This is a perfect 10. This is probably my second, maybe third favorite film of all time. It's fantastic.
Yep.
The Blu-ray, I mean, this thing looks immaculate. I mean, if you're going, like we talked about prior with some of these other Blu-rays, this is my favorite Blu-ray. This looks so good, man. Oh my God. Buy this. So
I've said it before on the podcast, man. I have the 4K Steelbook and it came damaged, and I fucking hate it because it's the kind of damage you wouldn't have been able to see unless you opened it, because
Yep.
it has like that card and shit on the back, right? When it's a steel book, they have a card on the back that gives you the details because it's usually not on the actual steel flipping over. As soon as I bought it, I took it home. I made the mistake of not opening it until after the return window ended,
Ugh.
and you couldn't find them because those steel books sell out
Yeah, they
fast.
go quick, man.
And you know, it probably took me over a month to finally open it. Like, oh, let me watch this, and I removed that card stock on the back of it.
Yeah.
The fucking thing is caved in. It's caved in, and
Yeah.
I'm like, man, and I keep holding out hope, or maybe I'm in denial that I can fix it. Like, can you repair this steel book? Can I somehow pop this shit back into a reasonable place and fix it?
I don't think
Um,
anybody's selling the rights off to that, so it's pretty much in hold with them. I'm guessing with
what are you
Warner,
talking about?
right?
I'm
Warner
talking about
Brothers.
I'm talking about fixing the steel book.
I don't think they're putting out another 4K release of that anytime
No, but
soon.
I know, but I could have the basic one like you. I just mean like,
Yeah.
could I fix it? Could I
Yeah.
repair it? I don't know
Yeah.
if I could like get some kind of suction, because it's never gonna look perfect. It's probably gonna have some. Even if I could like pop out this, it's fucked beyond belief, man. And it makes me sick looking at it on my shelf, dude, because you can see it's caved in the spine. It's like all bent on my on my
Mhm.
shelf. So that kind of hurts. But and because of that, I haven't watched it.
Oh, really? Just fucking watch it, dude.
Oh,
Just the
well,
case.
the reason is literally right like a week days before I my pre-order for that came in, I showed Eva and we watched it either stream or the Blu-ray. So I had just watched it when I got the Blu-ray. So I wasn't going to watch it 2 days later. I was going to wait till I had an appetite for the movie again. So it's Halloween season. It's been a couple years. I'm going to watch it now.
Even around Christmas time, it'd be perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. But and you know what? And that's honestly, and this speaks to the movie. She doesn't like a lot of the movies that I like that, but she loved The Shining. She
My
thought it was
wife
great.
loves it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. Actually, props to her. She actually really liked Hellraiser too,
Hmm.
but she can't deal with stupid shit. She hates killer clowns. Fucking hates it. So
Mhm.
it's just depending on the audience. But The Shining is fantastic. Todd already said it. It's a perfect 10, and I don't. I don't. It's probably the only movie that tops Alien for me with cinematography. Gosh, every
Oh,
every shot in this movie is a masterpiece.
yes.
Every frame shot is a work of art, and you can make a print out of it and hang it on your wall.
Hmm.
It's just I get it. Stanley Kubrick is pretentious, but his pretension comes earned, well earned,
Yeah.
and it is works. And he strikes that perfect balance of art house and consumability. And just you have a lot of people that are trying to be that now, dude. Like, you ever watch that movie Beyond the Black Rainbow?
Yeah, it was okay. I wasn't really
You
into
have
it.
these directors like that are trying to make an amalgamation of Kubrick and a little bit of Carpenter, usually with the music and maybe some Argento, and they're throwing it in a blender or whatever, and they're spitting this. To me, that movie, I don't know why that's my example. That's a movie that's full on pretension. Like, I can't do it. I thought it was dog shit. Like, this is, and Only God Forgives. You ever seen that movie?
No, I don't think so.
Is that the Ryan Gosling movie?
No, I never
Total
saw that.
fucking trippy art. How don't like it. It's just, I think that's just something you have to be super delicate with, because it might be for some people, but you can toe that line, go over that line so easy for me. And I think The Shining and Kubrick in general is a master at that, at just
Hmm.
being, it's not alienating me. I'm not bored watching The Shining. There's a lot of silence in The Shining, and a lot of the brilliance is in the silent moments, the stills, right? It's Danny riding his little tricycle. There's no talking. All you hear is the fucking trike going. It's brilliant.
It's probably the scariest movie you'll ever watch. Well, for me at least, I
Oh,
thought it was.
100%. And that's why that's definitely on my list. And that one's pretty later for me, because I didn't watch The Shining. When did I watch that? I was relatively old considering some of these other movies. I remember I watched The Shining in, I want to say, seventh or eighth grade. I don't remember. But my neighbor across the street, we'd hang out, and he'd have me over for movies or whatever. And I remember we were just in his basement, just me and him. So I was probably 12. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
say 12. and he loved The Shining, and we watched The Shining in his basement. It was really cool, Midwest basement. He had a pretty like when I say big tube TV, as what big was back then,
Yeah,
40-inch or
40
whatever.
something. Yeah.
And dude, we just sat in this cool basement eating popcorn with the lights out, and I watched it with another person. And at that point, movies didn't scare me anymore.
Mhm.
Even 12, like I was desensitized. Movies didn't scare me anymore. This is even some years after Amityville. And I watched The Shining, and I was scared to walk home across the street at night. Just across the street, dude. I felt eerie. I felt really freaked out by it. And so
No, I totally understand. I was probably the same age, and I watched that. I fell in love with that. I read the book, and then I watched the shitty
made for TV
made
with
for
Steven
TV,
Weber.
which I loved as a kid, and now it's shit. Like I rewatched it, and I think I was just a Shining junkie at that point where I liked it, but it's crap. But yeah, I fell in love with that movie.
And any pretentious asshole that wants to go after these types that go after Forrest Gump as being like the worst movie of all time, clearly they haven't watched a lot of movies. So if anybody tries to say fucking The Shining is a bad movie or it's overrated, can fuck right off, because it's just like, pull your head out of your ass.
Movie's way better in the book.
Sometimes shit deserves its hype and its legacy. That's just the way it is.
Mhm.
And yeah, I've never read the book, but I've read what the book entails. I've read the bullet points and the comparisons, and yeah, the miniseries was closer to the book,
Mhm.
right? And that doesn't fly for me. And I know Stephen King hated Kubrick's version, and I don't even think Kubrick liked Stephen King's book, and it just works. And Stephen King is just in denial that
He's a fucking idiot.
somebody outdid his source material.
Mhm.
And to me, that's what a great adaptation. I understand how that might not work a lot of times. You want stuff to be faithful, but it's kind of like a movie that I mean, technically would have. Oh God, a movie that would be on my honorable mentions that was so close to making it, I had to cut it. Like Batman Returns. People shit on Batman Returns because it really deviates from the comic book, but you literally hired you gave Tim Burton full reign to have creative control over a Batman interpretation, and you got Batman through a Tim Burton filter, and you got this weird mixture. That's kind of how the Kubrick thing is. It's like he took the source material and he put it through the Kubrick filter, man, and you got something unique and better.
It's crazy that we both have the same movie for the last movie of the pod. That's fucking
Yeah.
nuts, dude.
Yeah, well, technically, my last one was Dawn of the Dead because we were going in order.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and Dawn of the Dead, technically, you introduced to me freshman year of high school.
Okay. So you were on freshman and I was little younger. Okay.
So yeah, I was 14, and so technically it would have been Dawn next, but I talked about it already. But no, I mean,
That's crazy because we didn't talk about any of these.
yeah, and oh, dude, but yeah, because what is there to say about The Shining? You just
It's a
kind of like look at
masterpiece,
people
yeah.
and you just assume people. Oh yeah, of course that guy loves The Shining. Why wouldn't he? Of course this person loves The Shining. I've never met anybody that watched The Shining and didn't like The Shining.
Yeah, but it's still not in people's like top 5 list, which blows my fucking mind because
And speaking of that, like I said, speaking in terms of legacies are sometimes deserved, like The Shining. An honorable mention. Not that we're going to go down this too crazy, but I think The Exorcist deserves all the praise and legacy it has. And I saw The Exorcist at some point in my teens, but I don't think I really appreciated it. So probably a couple years later. But I love The Exorcist. I think it's fantastic too.
I didn't when I watched it when I was younger, I didn't like it, and I'm waiting for a decent release to come out, and I'll rewatch it. But it's been like 20 some years since I've watched that.
I watched it like starting from my early 20s. I realized what a fucking masterpiece it is,
Okay.
and it deserves it. It's the fact that a movie like that made as much money and was winning Oscars and shit is insane. And you shouldn't shit on a movie for that. Like, it's groundbreaking. It opened the door for other flicks to come. There would be no Amityville was a Exorcist knockoff.
Yeah.
Because when Exorcist opened these big doors, everybody was trying to do their own possession movie. And you know, the whole Amityville hoax came from The Exorcist too. The book that it was the hoax and the book and all that shit it was based off of that led to a movie, all because the people behind the hoax was like, shit, there's money in this. People love this fucking hysteria about you know, possession. So, but that's a great movie. I could that's become a movie I watch every year around the holidays. Fucking love it. And for that matter, Exorcist 3 is awesome too. Have you seen Exorcist 3?
Yeah, it's great. I love
I
Exorcist
love it.
3.
And that's
Yeah.
a totally different animal, but it's awesome too. You
I'll
know?
throw some of my honorable mentions in there. These were the ones I was gonna. Of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, fantastic.
I can see. I'm surprised that wasn't on your list. To be honest with you.
Night of the Living Dead 90. That was one. That was my stay at home from work or from school sick and watching Night of the Living Dead 90.
I had to cut Evil Dead 2. I had to cut just because I got into that a little later, and I'm like, something has to go. The list was getting too long.
Dead Alive, another one.
Nice.
And then my last one. So this is the one that kind of got me back into horror in the early 2000s. And right around the time when House of 1,000 Corpses came out, this came out too. And there was a lot of shitty horror films coming out late 90s, early 2000s. And this got me kind of back into it, which is 28 Days Later. I love this movie.
That was really cool when it came out. I only watched it the one time.
Yeah, I love it.
And the sequel, but I don't remember.
The sequel's shitty, but yeah, I well, it's not terrible, but it's not the original. So
yeah, very cool. I mean, I don't know. I think I alluded to some honorable type mentions, you know, during the chat, so I won't go down that too much. But no, this is awesome. I'd love to do a chat like this too about music, and because I already know, like, I could that would be hard to narrow down 10 albums that define my youth, and I bet you $1 million that one's going to look different than the movies, because there's something about movies. There's something about music compared to movies where you can really age out of music. Unlike movie, I don't know what it is, because I guarantee you half of the shit that's going to be, at least half of the shit that's going to be on my music list, I don't feel the same way about it.
Yeah.
But I it's undeniably a huge part of my youth, right? So anyway, does anybody have any final questions before we wrap up? I'd like to turn it over to anybody over there. Marty Wolf, what's up? He says Cabin Fever 2002 for me. Cabin Fever's awesome.
I like Cabin Fever. I think it's good too.
It's a fun movie, man. It's just I'm thinking about it. Well, that came out when I was 16. I don't know if I saw it when I was 16. I was probably at least 18, because I think I saw it out of high school, so that's why something like that couldn't make this kind of list. But it's great, super fun, rewatchable. You know, Eli Roth peaked.
He did, but yeah, what can you say about Eli?
Yeah, too little. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I want to remind everybody. It says there on the banner, every Tuesday we're doing this show. We're going to go over nostalgic topics. We will let you know what the next topic is. It's every Tuesday, 8 to roughly 10 Central Time. We went a little over today. Twitch.tv/Revival House. And, of course, on our YouTube channel, Revival House. And if you guys are new to the channel, YouTube, for example, please leave a comment, help us out in the algorithms, like the video, subscribe, hit the dumb notification bell, and of course, follow us on Twitch, help us out over there. That channel's brand new. We're trying to build it up. And please, if you're new, we have other shows. We've been around for a very long time. We have the commentaries. That's a flagship. Tons of film commentaries for you to sink your teeth into. We have the Cinema Enema podcast with myself and my co-host, Zach. And there's the Mac and Zach Save the World. Oh, I'm sorry. Now it's the Cam Gang. He rebranded it to the Cam Gang. There's just so many fucking things on that channel, man. So have a peek, enjoy yourselves, and just show some love. And we'll catch you guys next week. Adios.